Someone coined the word voice print from voice and fingerprint. Like all fingerprints, all voice prints are by unique genetic design. In recent decades, with significant advancements made in computer technologies, voice differentiation has been used to positively identify people. With voice prints, each is unique, just like the data from hand geometry readers and iris scanners. I have been called the man with 1,000 voices, but all of my voices have only one voice print. I lack the ability to change my voice print. It's created by the shape of my mouth and my throat. Don't let my many voices fool you. As my voice print proves, they are all distinctively my own. It's for that reason that the technology is not outwitted by disguised voice and illness or by a voice that is emotionally charged. Those changes are not what spectrographs show. All those things make the voice sound different to the human ear, but always show the same distinctive pattern of voice characteristics that's produced spectrographically. I can't vocally alter a spectrograph. At establishments requiring the highest security in government and in the private sector, it's now common to require the scrutiny of multiple identification methods. Institutions may use any of the several combinations of voice prints, key cards, iris scans, hand geometry readers, pins, or keys. Having more than one method can increase the statistical probability for correct identification, but each of them, particularly of the biometric methods, is rather foolproof. When the Paul is dead frenzy broke out in the US in 1969, Dr. Henry M. Truby of the University of Miami used samples from Beatles songs to make sonograms. He apparently hoped to prove with replicable testing that I am Paul McCartney. Yet what he found proved that I am not. He showed at length that Paul's voice recorded on Yesterday could not be my voice on Hey Jude. They were of different throat shapes. Others repeated that experiment. When that came out, I thought it would decide it once and for all. Dr. Truby proved by that method that the singer of Yesterday is not the individual who sings Hey Jude. Life magazine published it all on the 7th of November 1969. That issue also gave clues, but it seems like any reason sufficed. For example, I explained that the only reason I have a black carnation in the grand ballroom finale scene of the Magical Mystery Tour, while all of the others wore red, is that we ran out of red ones. Being hard to find red flowers, I have a black one. Here are some more clues if you can hear them. On the 13th of November 2000, the 30th anniversary of the end of the band, we released a compilation of 27 of our number one hits. All of the songs had been digitally remastered for a better, fuller sound. The CD, titled One, was quickly the biggest selling album of the entire decade. Back in the 60s, my Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band album was the biggest seller. No other band has had the best-selling album of more than one decade. We did well. If you own one of the 31 million copies of One sold worldwide, try this observation. Notice, while skipping through the first several number one Beatles hits, that practically all of their material emphasized falling in love or needing the girlfriend. The Paul years would have one love song after more and more love songs. That infatuation niche defined them until Paul's Death Dreams. Then came the best of his material. It was at that time that he wrote Paperback Writer, which was distinctively not romantic. It was not about girls or about dying, and is another one of his better songs. Donovan emphasized that he was referring to Paul, the paperback writer, in the Epistle to Dippy by singing Doing Us Paperback Reader. 2 songs later, on One, is Paul's last number one hit. Listen to him sing Eleanor Rigby. That song, the last one on that CD that Paul sang, is his most sophisticated. What the song does not have is my own singing quality. I understand that most of you love the song. I do too. Only someone with formal training in singing would have sung it better. I don't mean to fault him. He sang it great according to his own background and singing skills. Consider this simple listening inspection. Play Eleanor Rigby and listen to it. I mean, really listen to become aware of his singing ability or lack thereof on that, his last great masterpiece. Hear his untrained voice. Notice how out of breath Paul sounds at the end of each little line. Pay attention to every aspect. Listen to the way his shallowness of airflow causes his weakness of voice. Saying all of this does not diminish the fact that it's an exceptional song. Just listen to hear how he falters in singing it. Hear how weakly he ends each line. Hear his voice and voice quality. Then skip to Our Penny Lane. It's the next song on the CD. Notice how distinctly it's not the same voice. It's ridiculously obvious. If not to you, go back and forth between songs until you recognize each voice. You'll soon realize that each are one of the 5 Beatle voices that you've known very well, only that you stopped hearing Paul's voice once you started hearing mine. By switching back and forth until you know them both, you'll train yourself to be able to distinguish between Paul and me as easily as between John and George. You can hear it's not the same voice. Lastly, once you can distinguish between our 2 voices, listen to my voice quality. Hear how it lasts fully to the end of each line with more voice to spare. Hear the difference in enunciation. Notice that I do not have a Liverpool accent, that I sound much more educated, and that I clearly had my share of voice training. Comparing his Eleanor Rigby with my Penny Lane gives you 2 consecutive hits, his last one and my first. I do not write of the contrast to boast of my superior voice or about the effortlessness in my singing. My point is to help you to hear the variance. I felt frantic for my first single as Paul to sound a lot like him. I needed help with it. It was close enough. That voice, with John's right behind it in the harmony, told our fans that it could only be Paul singing lead. They could all tell that it was not George or Ringo. Thus, clearly, it could only be Paul. An outsider there was never imagined. It must be Paul singing lead with John doing backup on the Beatles single. They always did it with either John or Paul singing lead and with the other one singing backup. They did not ever let George do a single. That only happened later when he wrote Something. Only by listening to these songs back and forth, contrasting us as I described, can you appreciate the very distinct differences. He is more nasally, less clear. His Liverpool sound, especially as in the words ending with an R, are not like mine, and I play with the notes, adding far more sophistication. Hearing how well I sing Penny Lane is significant because it is right after Paul recorded Eleanor Rigby. However, the differences are even more clear with us both singing the same song. For an undeniable contrast, pull up Paul's version of Eleanor Rigby, as well as my own version that I recorded for Give My Regards to Broad Street. On YouTube, compare them back and forth, line by line. Having heard that profound difference, you'll understand why John, aware of the difference, feared everyone else would notice too. It made him insecure with his singing. His new insecurity first became apparent while recording Strawberry Fields. I laughed about him singing in different keys and realized that he, who had been the leader of the world's biggest band, could not hear the difference. It became worse as he learned what my voice could do compared to his or Paul's. For the rest of our time together, he favored singing harder rock that better hit his voice. Still, his best songs were slow. Next, as John began to contrast my music theory background with his and my musical skills with his own, he had Yoko, not me, give him piano lessons. Although Paul had begun to play it before I joined, it was George Martin who had done almost all of their piano work before I took over. Chapter 35. Between me and my encoder, it's all sixes. When I was a little boy, long before I knew a thing about Liverpool, I was the greatest at sixes. I had the dice collection to prove it. Being a game of chance, one might wonder how one child could end up so far ahead. Somehow, however odd, I was good at it. Sixes was a simple game. Each player needed 6 dice to start. Whoever rolled first would toss 1, 2, or 3 dice. Based usually on how well that roll went, The others each rolled up to as many as were rolled first. The highest number each player rolled would compete. The highest roll won them all. Sometimes we played for keeps, for real. Other times it was just for fun, and we would give the newly won dice back when the game was over. I went partly by strategy, mostly by my gut feelings, and with a little luck. The strategy was to let the others win if they rolled a 5 or a 6 first. At those times, I would roll one die and expect to lose it. Otherwise, I would roll more to improve my odds. Yet the rub was this. All of the dice that ended up as low-rolling leftovers went to whoever had rolled the highest number. By rolling more dice, odds increased of a higher number, but also of more dice to lose too. As instinct countered strategy, that was when the game was the most satisfying to me. I remember one day, on a visit with my father, he rolled 3 5s. Strategy would have me roll only one die and let him have it. However,